Hello again. Welcome to today's webinar titled Defend Against Pushing Strategies for Modern Cyber Resilience. My name is Monique Vicenti, and I am the Mobile Endpoint Product Marketing Director here at Zimperium, and I will be your host for today's webinar. And before we begin, I want to introduce one of my speakers who will join us. His name is Krishna Vishnavatla, our VP of Product Strategy. Hi, Krishna. How are you today?
Hey, Monique, how are you doing? Thank you for the opportunity. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. So today's webinar will be more of a discussion between the two of us about the intricacies of phishing, how attackers bypass traditional security measures, the risks and impacts of QR code phishing, and best practices for enhancing QR code phishing defenses. All right, now next, some quick housekeeping items. If you have any questions, please submit them via the Q&A button below, and we'll do our best to answer those as we go. Any questions that might require some research, or if we run out of time, we will follow up with you after this session and get you the answers. All right, let's jump right in. Okay, so QR codes are everywhere. They rose in popularity as a hands-free means to access information during the pandemic, but this is one trend that has stuck around. In fact, nearly 89 million smartphone users in the US have scanned a QR code. And the increased visibility or availability of QR codes has made it easier for cyber criminals to hide malicious links and further evade detection from traditional security tools. We will get into this a bit further, but QR code phishing bypasses user suspicions and some email security products, and they're placed in physical spaces using a sticker, vastly digital security altogether. So, they are pretty prominent out there. I don't know about you, Krishna, but I see them everywhere.
No, I do. And I think, we all play dual roles, right? We're an employee of the organization and we're also a consumer, right? And as a consumer, you're right. I see them everywhere, especially when you think of payments, right? I think I use Venmo. You've got PayPal, depending on Cash App, what you use. A lot of them to transfer money, I'm always scanning someone's QR code, right? I no longer enter details. So as a consumer, I think it's great because it removes friction. I'm not typing, hate that much of typing, so it's really convenient. But also as an enterprise, I mean, we see this a lot with retail chains and manufacturing, right? They have specialized devices as well who can just scan QR codes on factory floors, in the store, right? There's a lot of QR codes now, even when I go to things like Target and Walmart, right? You want to get more information, scan for price. There is some form of a QR code out there. So this is becoming a big part of enterprise businesses as well. And it makes sense, right? It removes a whole lot of friction. It simplifies it for the end user and also simplifies operations in a lot of these. I mean, restaurants, every restaurant, especially during the pandemic, right? There was a QR code on the table. Even now, it seems like we're still doing QR codes. Removes friction, very attractive, very convenient. So, we understand the appeal of it.
Absolutely. While QR codes, especially while you're dining at a restaurant, 52% of all restaurants in the US have implemented a QR code for menus. But in addition to that, you're still paying through a QR code link. So you're scanning a QR code link, it's going to a payment portal, but how do you actually know that payment portal is safe? And that's something interesting about QR codes is it feels safe because it was a tool created for us during the pandemic to have that frictionless and hands-free safety to access information.
Yeah, and there's nothing scary, like you say, you look at QR code, it doesn't really make you worry about anything, right? It seems so harmless.
Mhm.
It just seemed like you take you open your phone, you scan it with your camera, and you're like, okay, easy enough. And I think that's where the problem starts.
Oh, absolutely. And especially with financial institutions, they're starting to use QR codes now to actually help reduce the time that's spent on loan applications. So even banks are utilizing these things, and it does seem very harmless. All right, let's go to the next one. So I really love this graphic. It really shows the difference of when you're phishing, just with a traditional phishing URL versus a QR code attack. So, attackers, the thing is they're sending these phishing links, or they have a target, they have a target in mind when they're sending these emails. And, us as employees, we're being duped into clicking those emails. Whereas with QR codes, the end user is actually initiating the scan. So that's the primary differentiator between the two. But it's really interesting that with phishing attacks, as an end user, corporations and enterprises are spending thousands of dollars just to get us trained on identifying these phishing attacks, identifying, typos, what to look out for. So a hacker can try to collect important credentials or have you download something on your corporate device. But this is really interesting seeing the journey and the workflow of what an attacker does to deploy phishing attacks. And with QR codes, like I mentioned, they're put in public spaces. They're just, like you said, they feel like they're just tools, or they're really harmless. So it's easier for someone to put their guard down and then scan a QR code. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, and I think when it comes to phishing, right, I mean, the conversation is always twofold, right? When we think of our mobile devices, I have my corporate email, and then I have everything else on my phone, right? My personal email, I have social, I have WhatsApp, I have SMS, right? So
Mhm.
your corporate email is probably 1% of all the emails and messages I get, right? So even when you think of traditional phishing, there is this notion that, oh, enterprises have what they call business email compromise solutions. So essentially saying, oh, anything through the corporate email, we can stop phishing to a certain extent. Now, that's fine, right? That's true. There are some solutions to help you. But the problem is most hackers, even though they're trying to target employees, will go through the personal domain, right? And I just have a Gmail user ID, and I have no filter or no solution deployed to protect me from phishing, only what Gmail provides, right? I have nothing to protect me from social sites. I have nothing to protect me from anywhere else where a phishing URL can be sent. Now, in traditional phishing, you can't stop me from clicking anything outside of the corporate work email, right? It's my phone, and I will do it. With QR code, to your point, it's even worse because this might not even be mediums I'm used to, right? I have Facebook, I might click on a link in Facebook. I have Insta, I have all these things. But when you scan a QR code, I might be scanning it in a completely random place, right? That I've never been to, right? At a
Mhm.
bus stop, railway station, airports, new restaurants. So now the attack vector is moving to places where I'm not even used to interacting. And that's what I feel is so interesting about QR codes. I go to a new restaurant, I don't think twice before scanning that QR code,
Right. You're more
right?
comfortable with
So,
it.
yeah. And earlier we were saying, hey, apps, don't click on things on your phone, in your apps and in messages. But now this is a whole new ballgame because you're scanning QR codes at different places that have nothing to do with what's on your phone. Um, I think that's what makes it so attractive, right? I can get you to scan this code um, if I can entice you, right? And that's why I think QR code is very interesting. The attack surface has a very different meaning once you introduce a QR code.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely broadened quite a bit. And like you said, you're out at these public places, if you're at a concert or something, you're there to
Yep,
have a good time. You're not really thinking about, am I supposed to have my wall up, my defenses to protect me from a phishing attack on my own device? Those two just you don't really think about that when you're out and
yep,
about.
agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's interesting that you said, why are QR codes attractive? This is really interesting because we actually did do a global mobile threat report this past year, and 80% of phishing sites, they were created just to target a mobile device. Um, but, with phishing, that That could also account for QR code phishing as well. Because, like you said, when you scan that QR code, it goes right to a URL and you're not able to see, are there typos? Like, where is this going? Like, there's no way to actually vet it before it gets there. Just, you yourself being that human firewall. The convenience of leading to widespread adoption, they could be anywhere. They are everywhere. They're at the school, they're at the library, they're at the restaurants, at concerts, they're easy to create and distribute. And that's something to keep top of mind, especially as an employee. But what are your thoughts on some of this as well?
Yeah, I think traditionally when we had phishing URLs, you know, the general education to the user population has been, hey, if you don't recognize the URL, don't click on it. If there are typos, to your point, right? But you had something to look at. But with
Hmm.
QR code, you have nothing to look at, right? This is a random QR code, and you have no idea what URL is behind it, right? There's no way of telling. And I think the other interesting part is it's really hard to verify because every QR code generator for the same URL will generate something different. So you absolutely have no notion of whether this QR code is accurate or not, right? Until you scan, and it gives you, even when you scan it, if you notice, most QR codes give you a short URL, which
Hmm.
doesn't really tell you where it's going or how many times it's going to redirect you. So it's a great facade, right? Harmless, and you don't know where it's going, but you need whatever it's offering you, so you just scan. So I think it's a great tool. That's why it's so attractive. I think the number one thing, that's what it is. You don't know where you're headed.
Absolutely. And whatever device you're using, whether you're using Android or iOS or even like, I don't know, a Chromebook
Tablets, yeah,
tablet or something,
yeah,
there isn't a built-in security feature that'll help you out in this case. It's
yeah.
still going to go to that URL. It's still going to go to that website, and social engineering incidents. They've even doubled since last year. So uh, I believe that QR codes have increased that social engineering, those incidents in the past year as well. And 54% of devices that have a phishing link, that link was clicked on by a personal device. So this is really important for organizations that are utilizing bring your own device policies, because there needs to be some sort of control on the device, not only just control but protection against phishing, against these type of unknown attacks on device, especially in that BYOD environment.
Yeah, and I think the stat's interesting because if you think of standard phishing, you could make a case that you could click on it on your Mac, on your PC, but as soon as you say QR code, most likely you're scanning it to your mobile
Oh yeah.
tablet, but most likely your smartphone, you're on the move. So the entire focus of this attack traditionally becomes mobile because you're out and about. It's easy to pick up your phone, scan the QR code, and move on. I think the other thing that a lot of people don't understand, apart from it has no built-in security features, right? It's just converting a URL to some kind of a pictogram and then you're scanning it. Most phishing controls, right? Whether in an enterprise, something you've purchased, they're very traditional in the sense that they're looking for text. They're text-based. So when you have a traditional phishing URL, they can look at some things, but very few of them can assess an image, right? If a QR code comes in as an attachment, to actually assess the attachment, look at the URL underneath and tell you it's malicious, very, very few. And most traditional controls don't do that. And that's another appeal of phishing is they know they can bypass something that's text-based because you'll see nothing. It's just an attachment. What are you going to do? There are a lot of these advantages. And the other thing I've seen with QR codes is a lot of reputable sites also host QR codes, right? That for me, as someone visiting the content, makes it feel like, oh, it's on a legitimate site. I should trust this,
Mhm.
right? There's no reason to not trust a QR code on a very, very trustworthy site in my mind. So you continue to think it's harmless, right? You assume trust based on where it is or what you want. And I think it's a great trap.
Oh, absolutely. I believe it was in 2001, the San Antonio police notified residents about suspicious QR codes plastered on parking meters that actually fished personal information from anyone who scanned them. And sure enough, a similar scheme was discovered in Austin and Houston weeks later. So QR codes have been known to be placed on top of like legitimate QR codes to redirect to payment portals for monthly subscriptions or to initiate a download on the device. So, that's where, QR codes, they end up being more of a widespread threat than I believe just, traditional phishing, which just,
Yeah.
targets anybody. QR codes seem more of that, I'm gonna hit as many people as I can and it'll probably work. Yeah.
Yeah. Now let's see. Okay, some popular scams. I know we see a lot of these, Monique. I know you and I have our favorites when it comes to this. Maybe how about you talk about one or two of your favorite things when it comes to phishing scams?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite things about phishing scams, I don't want to say phishing is my favorite, but something that's interesting is credential theft. At the end of the day, it's not about what's on your device. Yes, we have pictures, we have our apps, we have, all these things, and we're trying to secure these devices against, bad actors trying to access information. But at times, you have to think about the access that your device provides. So credential theft is up there when it comes to what type of access does your device provide, because credentials can get an attacker into, I don't want to say anywhere, but into some of the more meaningful systems where they can cause a lot of damage. Especially with QR codes nowadays, you'll receive an email or a text on your phone saying, requesting users to either reset or log into passwords. That is a great opportunity for bad actors to easily access credentials right away without you really thinking twice about it. You're trusting this email or this text coming in from IT saying, hey, Krishna, I need you to reset your email because XYZ, scan this QR code to make sure. And we're all utilizing QR codes sometimes for multi-factor authentication for zero trust strategies to make sure it's us. But, credential theft is one of my favorite things to talk about when it comes to phishing scams and QR code scams. What about you? What's your favorite?
Yeah, what I like about the novelty of some of the malicious actors is if you look at all four of these, I think it's important to note the destination of the QR code or the intent of the QR code can be so varied, right? And we're just talking about the four that are the most popular.
Mhm.
They can make you land on a website you never intended to go. It could be malicious. That malicious website can download stuff. I could have you directly download malware on your mobile phone. Now, we've spoken at length about banking Trojans and why that's such a big problem. Replace legitimate QR codes. I find this one is quite interesting. The West doesn't do this so much, but a lot of the companies, small businesses in the East have a bunch of QR codes in the stores, right? In the offices, hospitals and stuff. And
Mhm.
somebody can very easily take another printout of a QR code, stick it on top, and you wouldn't know the difference, right? So, deceiving you into thinking you're transferring money or paying for a certain good or service, it's going to look so identical, right? It might be the same bank that the business is associated with. So just deceiving you into transferring money. And then the fourth one, like you talk about, is send an email with some sense of urgency and then say, hey, you need to update your password, and the QR code could give you a phishing screen. So it allows you to do so many things under the cover. I think it's you can see why it's so attractive and it's seamless. That's what makes it, I think, worth for the bad actors to spend their time to develop these campaigns and QR codes, because it works. It really
Oh,
works.
absolutely. Absolutely. I believe we were speaking to a manufacturing agent or manufacturing company, and they utilize, like Zebra scanners and Samsung rugged devices. And one thing that was actually top of mind for them was QR code phishing because those devices can scan, and they didn't know if that was going to go to a phishing site or not because there's no way to properly vet it beforehand. So that was one of the reasons why they wanted to secure their devices.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, right? I think one of the things we are seeing emerge is even if the enterprise issued the device, once you enable it for personal use, then you have to worry about QR codes, right? Because now you've just opened the back door into that device and whatever that device is running, because that user could easily scan a QR code somewhere, right? And we're seeing more and more of that, especially in retail, right? We're seeing special rugged devices being moved to commercial off-the-shelf devices, right?
Mhm.
So I think the threat is going to become more relevant even if the enterprise issues the device, because you're opening them up for personal use more and more.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some best practices. So, what you can look out for as, an enterprise trying to protect your employees from QR code scanning or even phishing, look out for spelling and grammar errors in the emails. As we mentioned, yes, the QR codes do go to a shorter, URL, but if you're receiving a QR code, excuse me, if you're receiving a QR code in an email, always just take a look. Take a look at who the sender is. Take a look at, are they asking you for password resets? Is that urgency behind it? Um, and then once you scan that QR code, is it prompting to download something? So you always want to be aware of unsolicited downloads as well, because that could be malware being downloaded on your device. And with malware being downloaded on your device, so many other things could happen. They could take control of your device. They can utilize your camera. They can access credentials. They can even access. They can even access the contacts on your phone. So those are definitely some things to look out for. What about you, Krishna? What do you think on what to look out
Yeah,
for?
I do agree, right? I think even though you can't see what's behind the QR code, right? There are some indications in the emails, just like traditional phishing emails, right? Always watch out for those. I think what makes it very interesting, especially with QR codes, just like shortened URLs, is we never pay attention to where we land, right? And on mobile, the screen is so small, you can never see the whole URL. So nobody really does it, right? That's the problem. It's like you just want to get to wherever you want to go, and we want to move into the next task, so we don't pay attention. But I think where you land is a big indication of are you even supposed to be there, right? I think that's a big one. Now, what should you do? Again, unsolicited messages. This is the number one, right? We see scams all the time, even within Zimperium. Oh, your CEO wants something from you, right?
Hmm.
And it'll be perfectly crafted, and there's the spelling mistake is somewhere you don't even look, right? And then there'll be things like that. So unsolicited message, you get a QR code attachment, someone asking you to do something, think about it, right? Did this come out of nowhere? You weren't even expecting it. This is not even the realm of what you typically do. Keep your software updated. Couple of things. I know some of us hate updating our OS, but a lot of these QR codes will take you to websites and ask you to download malware that can or are targeted for certain vulnerabilities on your phone. So update your phone, especially when there's security patches. It's really important, right? It'll invalidate a lot of the things that are being downloaded, like malware and other things, because they're aimed at certain vulnerabilities in certain OS versions. So that helps. Um, Verify destination post scan. This is the one big one I constantly see is once you scan the QR code, wherever you land, take a second, look at it, right? Whether it's you're paying somebody, whether you're downloading something, if something seems off, back out, right? There are some QR codes, unfortunately, that trigger the download as soon as you scan. So you have to be extra cautious and see if you can remove it. before it compromises anything. Um, Again, there's one on here that we'll talk about. One of the things, apart from education, right? I think a big part of this is we would love for employees and the consumer to have a tool where you can say, wait, in addition to me being careful, can I just scan a QR code somewhere and say, is this good or bad? Right? Just tell me is it good or bad, or help me make that decision. And I think that is going to become a very important part of protecting everybody from QR codes is, yes, your judgment, but we know how end user behavior is. That paired with a solution, a technology on your phone that says, let me scan it, and immediately I know whether this is good, bad, that would really help, right? I think the pairing is really what's practical, right?
Mhm.
Monique, I know this is an area that we help. Why don't you give us a little insight into how are we helping companies, right, with this problem?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, with Zimperium, we have been securing mobile devices for many years now. And one thing that definitely sets us apart is our on-device protection. We have a dynamic detection engine that can scan the device itself for compromises, vulnerabilities, malicious networks, malicious applications, and phishing as well. And one of the features that we have in our phishing capabilities is you can scan a QR code directly from our mobile threat defense application, and it will let you know if the QR code is malicious or not. And it'll pop up with a notification and say, stop. This is a phishing website. We blocked it for you. So it automatically blocks it before it even gets there, and protects your information, protects you and your corporate information as well. But, like you mentioned before, no one's actually vetting mobile applications before they're installed on a device, especially if you're in a BYOD environment. And with Zimperium, what we do is we scan applications to make sure that, they're safe, and we'll let the admins know of any risks or where is the application sending data to let you know as an enterprise and as a security team, this you can utilize this data to customize your policies or to create, more granular security policies where you can create different groups, and each group can have different security policies as well. So those are a bit of things that we do, but really, phishing is something um, that we really differentiate in.
Yeah, and if you and for all those on the call, if you think about how this works, right? When enterprises um, invest in our MTD solution, what they're doing is they are pushing a mobile app to all their devices, whether it's BYOD, corporate owned, like Monique was saying. So the employee now, when he's using the same phone for personal and he sees a QR code, right? He's going to scan it, but at least it gives him an option to say, hey, go into your MTD app, ensure it's safe before you go ahead and do what it's asking you to do, right? So it gives you a first line of defense, which is extremely important to enterprises, is give them a solution to at least help them make informed decisions about QR codes. And if you talk about some of the large enterprises, it's not just employees, you have suppliers, contractors, third-party people who are all either you've given a phone to or are accessing your stuff via their phone. And we want to make sure they're not scanning QR codes that have compromised their phone and they're using the same phone to access the enterprise. So this becomes a very important attack vector for them. And the other things that Monique was saying, right? Even if you did, let's say you used the MTD solution, you thought it was safe, and something malicious got downloaded on your phone. Well, the MTD solution is capable of telling you, you think this looked okay, but we see it doing something malicious, so it will trigger another alert for the end user saying, whatever they downloaded doesn't look great, right? You need to delete it. So there are multiple layers of defense that the
Mhm.
app provides you on your phone, even if something got through your phishing, right? And that's what enterprises like. They like the idea of help our employees make good decisions around QR code phishing. But even if something gets through, they like the fact there's multiple layers of defense protecting them, no matter what. And that's the appeal of a mobile endpoint protection solution.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing that's great about MTD is once you scan that QR code, it actually sends that data to the console. So it sends the data to the console so your security team can take a look and do any additional threat hunting or access the forensics. So, you can always stop any type of campaign before it even starts. But one
Yeah,
thing that's interesting as well that I really love about not only Zimperium but the whole MTD solution as a whole is we partner with different cities and different states to help them secure their local residents, to help them secure, the like Michigan, Dallas, those just to name a few. They're utilizing a version of our mobile threat defense application and they provide that to their residents for free so they can reduce fraud, so they can prevent phishing attacks and just help keep them safe from a digital perspective.
yeah, Monique, I think that's great point, right? I think this is not just the private sector, but even cities and states, as they digitize more services, they've realized it's their job to kind of help keep citizens safe as well, right? So digital safety is a big initiative, and they're leveraging these solutions, offering them for free to their citizens to help. So we're honored to be part of these initiatives.
Absolutely. And, just one thing I definitely want to note is stay compliant with MTD. MTD, yes, there's multi-layer approach to securing devices, but at the end of the day, Gartner, IDC, they even mention MTD adoption is critical for securing iOS and Android devices. Even NIST has recently come out with um, the SP 800-124R2, which is a guide to securing mobile devices in the enterprises. And it definitely calls out not only MTD, but mobile app vetting as well, which is important in staying compliant and securing your enterprise. So I just wanted to highlight that for our audience today. Awesome. Well, it's Q&A time.
Hey,
Does anyone have any questions?
let me take a look. Okay. First question. You mentioned that the QR code scanned on the device are sent to the console. Can that be turned off for privacy reasons?
Oh, absolutely. So one thing about our console is it's really based on what your corporate policy is. So if you want to follow GDPR privacy standards, you have that capability to turn that on and off for privacy reasons.
I have the person asking, what was the name of the NIST document you mentioned? This is the NIST 1-800.
Oh, yes, it's NIST 800 SP 124R2. We can definitely send that link out in an
SP.
email as well.
Say that again, Monique. NIST 800
800,
SP.
yeah, dash 124 R2.
Perfect. All right. I have another question. Are
Okay.
drive-by QR cans a thing? Can a QR can't be triggered, targeted passively? Yeah. So retail, right? Drive-by QR codes is going to be a big thing. I think with location, right? We don't see it as much, but beacon technology, which the retail stores love, right? Which is essentially, if I'm somewhere near your store, you want to advertise to me, right? I think that area we're seeing some stuff, but again, they don't necessarily use QR codes, but the ad that they prompt could have a QR code. So it could be. We don't see it a lot. We don't see drive-by QR code because you have to scan the code for the most part. But we believe it's coming, especially for location, right? Frank, With regards to MDM, do you offer a trial period? So Frank, we are not an MDM solution, right? We are a mobile threat defense solution. So think of it as the MDM relies on us as a security sensor, right? We tell the MDM what action to take and it takes it. We do offer some trials. If you are interested, just reach out through our contact us page and let us know if you would like a free trial for MTD, and we can make something available for you. Monique, another question for you.
Sure.
Is the detection of the QR code on device or is it sent to the cloud?
Oh, that's a really great question. So when we scan or when a user scans a QR code directly from the MTD application, all the detections, all the scanning, everything is done on device. We do not have to send, we don't have to send the data to a cloud to verify if it's malicious or not and, signal back like good to go. Definitely not. Like we remediate on device in real time with our dynamic detection engine. And that's, what really makes MTD, you know, a comprehensive mobile solution when it comes to protecting against phishing and QR codes.
Perfect.
These were all really great questions. I loved it.
Perfect. Let me just see if there's one more. I'm just marking all the questions.
Sure.
Okay, Usman, do you think QR codes-based phishing attack will get more prevalent in the future?
Well, personally, I think they will. What do you think?
No. So, Usman, I think the thing to remember in the context of mobile, right? They will get more, right? Because it's easy, it works. It's the perfect facade for an attacker. And we are actually seeing more businesses adopt QR codes than before, right? Earlier, we thought it was a trend during COVID and that would go away. But none of the businesses that have adopted it have really relinquished QR codes. They've realized that they eliminate quite a bit of friction and they're using it more and more, right? You'll see it even more places as the years go by. That's what the trend says. So I don't think they will. The more prevalent they become, the more prevalent the attacks will become. Right? That's our viewpoint on this. Okay, let me see if there's any more. Looks like that's it, Monique. I think we've answered. Oh, hold on. Is there one more? Okay, one more. Okay, we've answered the question. Nope. Monique, that was the last question. I see no more open questions. Oh,
Awesome. Well,
one came in.
but
Are you working on dynamic QR codes to avoid phishing and the sharing of QR codes? Yes. That was Umesh. I will respond. I don't know if you all can see this, but yes, we are working on dynamic as well. Okay, that was the last. I keep saying last question, and a new question comes up. Sorry, folks. All right, Monique. I think just in the interest of time, back to you to wrap up.
absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for your time, Krishna, for this amazing conversation. We talked a lot about QR codes. So, if you have any questions, please reach out to us in the contact us form that we have. But thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, have a good one.
Thanks so much, Monique. Have a great day, everyone.
Of course. Bye.